Hi everybody, RadMom here. Welcome back to the garden on a lovely autumn afternoon, where today on the channel we have two guests for the price of one. But first, really quick, like the video if you enjoy my content, subscribe to the channel so that we can all work together to bring feminism back into the real world, because gosh do we need it. And memberships are live now. You can hit the join button down below, and for $2.99 a month support the channel and maybe help me come up with the perks for that. What do you guys want? Let's see. As promised, this week we finally get to talk about Angelica ASMR. This was a request from a viewer because she appeared to be exactly the sort of young woman I've been talking about, where you know, she's been disillusioned with all of the leftist nonsense and has sort of therefore reacted by running to the right because they acknowledge women exist. Waiting on this actually ended up paying off. Angelica deleted her video, which I was struggling with anyway, but I think I know why. Star's soliloquy is going to be our guide because she does an excellent job of laying out the facts. Thank you, Star's soliloquy, for practicing the dying art of journalism, but you are also very young.
In truth, if someone woke up today and said that God gave them the next chapter of the Bible and it needs to be added, like, immediately, even Christians would, you know, look at them and have a little skepticism.
So apparently you are unfamiliar with Joseph Smith and have never been to Utah.
It is incredibly difficult to tell when we or someone else is dealing with psychosis rather than spiritual endowment.
So we're not going to try, which is the problem I have here. Instead, we're going to refute Christianity, which has been done many times, and this is how you know that this sudden, very mystical conversion is a red flag of something else. Confused people are confusing, okay? And everyone seems to be completely distracted by what Angelica is singing and how that reflects their own ideology and stuff. To recognize someone suffering a destructive lack of control over themselves. Who is blinded by ideology here? Let's find out.
Angelica is a niche YouTube content creator. Her first known video was uploaded in 2016, and since then she has become a staple in the surrealist comedy ASMR genre. She is broadly known for her ASMR videos, her most notable video being 1300s AD ASMR, None Takes Care of You in Bed, You Have the Plague.
So her most popular video is already her cosplaying as a Catholic.
But what set Angelica apart in the broader ASMR community was her witty social commentary embedded in each of her seemingly nonsensical videos.
The Monty Python recipe, delicious.
Some other basic information about Angelica includes that she is a straight, cisgendered woman. According to a few online sources, she was born January 1st, 1999, making her 24 years of age as of the release of this video. This and any other information about Angelica, however, is unverified and or unknown. It is hard to pinpoint much personal information regarding her, as much of it has been deleted and thus subsequently erased from the internet.
That is not how that works.
Angelica is also no stranger to mental health issues. She now claims on social media that she has never been diagnosed with any mental illness other than ADHD, a diagnosis that she does not claim, as she believes it was pushed onto her as a child that did not fully understand English just yet. While she claims to have never been on any medication or formally diagnosed, Angelica has frequently mentioned throughout her career her mental health struggles, including but not limited to depression and mania. Angelica claims that her time on OnlyFans was also a time that she was knowingly manic.
There it is. There it is. Okay, see, that's a big clue right there. Mania is not just some alternative to depression. No. Depression is something that can hit a lot of people for a lot of reasons. Sometimes life just sucks for an extended period, and you can become depressed over that. Mania is a symptom of mental illness. And it has certain features, one of which can be psychosis. Okay, so if someone's been having an untreated manic episode for months, you know, you're thinking they're going to become depressed next, which will happen, unfortunately. And this young woman has alienated her entire fan base and apparently a lot of her friends. So that's going to be really rough for her. You think, okay, manic depressive. Manic depressed, manic depressed, manic religious? I think there's something else going on here, and no one else is talking about that. No one else seems to have thought of this. that maybe this young woman really needs some help.
Many fans were not alarmed by Angelica's behavior up until her announcement that she was now Catholic rather than anarcho-communist. Suddenly, Angelica was a very different person. Still outspoken and unapologetic, Angelica now became a highly religious individual with the ideals that she once criticized.
So she's not a completely different person. She's just disagreeing with herself entirely. There's definitely something irrational going on here.
Across her TikTok and YouTube, Angelica spread quite a few problematic ideals, including but not limited to the left being in opposition to the Church of Christ, queerness being a term that should be left to child predators, and other views that are commonly seen among conservative tradwives, which can be defined as cis women who believe in traditional male and female gender roles, including that women should be mothers and homemakers.
She said a bunch of stuff that has triggered all these people. Oh my gosh, I've been seen with this person saying this stuff. Everybody's gonna think I'm like that. Come on. Doesn't the fact this makes no sense give anybody a clue?
The core of former fans' issues with Angelica did not lie in her conversion to Christianity by itself. In fact, many were supportive of this embracing of her faith, but rather it was that in support of these ideals, she actively began to push agendas that actively harm marginalized and disenfranchised communities in general, and characterize their plight as symptoms of ungodliness. For example, Angelica claims that mental illness is not real and is that instead the result of, in her words, disgusting habits.
Mental illness does not exist probably sounds really good to someone who's in denial about their mental illness.
The denial of mental illness is also common within Abrahamic religions. They see mental illness as a disturbance of the spirits rather than the chemical imbalance that it is. They abhor mental health medication and see it as a tool for society to make individuals complacent with being anti-religion and invested in science, aka man's religion.
Well, as you say, it's really difficult to tell when somebody's having a religious experience and when somebody's having a nervous breakdown. So, yeah. Poking around at that seam too much is probably going to make people of faith awfully nervous.
Angelica takes this even further, claiming that therapy only made her feel worse.
It's plausible that therapy made her feel worse. There are a lot of different kinds of therapy. Maybe she got the wrong one.
Amongst Angelica's claims, she has gone from being very expressive and proud of her ethnic background to claiming she is not a person of color, just an American in a now deleted TikTok.
I'm not brown, I'm American, and I'm also not oppressed, except by the world of sea.
Angelica eventually made something similar to an apology video regarding her statements about the LGBT+ community, insisting that she did not hate those individuals, although she still will defend that those that align with specifically the queer label also support pedophiles and that queer and leftist ideologies, including the fight for LGBT+ rights, are incorrect and distract from the glory of God and the church.
That's how you know something is amiss here. This total destructive reversal of everything that she's believed. Okay, up to this point, and attacking her friends and, her community over these things that she used to believe. Okay? Yeah, that's called persecutory delusion. Okay, it's a symptom of psychosis.
In response to pedophilia within the Catholic Church, however, Angelica has simply stated that she has looked past those instances and see the predators as not in alignment with the Word of God.
Well, clearly they're not in alignment with the Word of God. But this was what actually struck me first. I thought to myself, you're going to join the Catholic Church to help protect the children? What? That doesn't make any sense. On its face, it doesn't make sense. Which was one of the reasons I wanted to look into this, because she's clearly an intelligent young woman, and I was willing to accept her explanation in a nutshell, which was basically that the ideas that drew her to communism in the first place were actually present in the teachings of Jesus Christ. Which, I've heard people say Jesus is a commie. I've heard this. That seemed fairly plausible to me.
In a nutshell, Angelica has gone from someone who represented inclusion and diversity to someone who supports the very ideals that marginalized people groups from the beginning. She's even gone as far as to remove all videos from her channel in support of the LGBT+ community and that criticize the Catholic Church. Her TikTok, on the other hand, has been long since allegedly banned for hate speech. What Angelica needs to realize is that the people who supported her want the same things she does. They want peace, they want community, and they want to protect the earth and children. It is Angelica's method that has led to her aggressively attacking those who once compassionately cared for her. She antagonizes them because she says her fans supported her OnlyFans era. What she doesn't realize is that they are the same people who agreed with her sentiments about it harming young women and understand the risk and benefits associated with sex work. We can learn and grow with her as well.
There's more than just a religious conversion here. There's more than just questioning of cultural norms here. There's actual destructive shit going on here, and no one seems to be able to see it.
My thoughts on this topic start with skepticism about the validity of Angelica's new worldview.
So now we're gonna refute the Christian God. Not exactly a waste of time, but I would argue off topic. It's not about whether the Christian God is true or not. That's not what's at issue here. Her beliefs are her beliefs because she's lost control over her mind. The beliefs are beside the point. But who is blinded by ideology here? You just laid out for us the case that there's something more destructive at work here. So we're not going to debate the Christian God, because I feel that's not the issue here at all. She does go to my dude Esoterica for her information though, so good on you for that.
In truth, if someone woke up today and said that God gave them the next chapter of the Bible and it needs to be added, like, immediately, even Christians would, look at them and have a little skepticism.
You should book a bus ticket to Utah.
It is incredibly difficult to tell when we or someone else is dealing with psychosis rather than spiritual imbuement.
That's true. Hypothetically, how might you do such a thing? I'm gonna go with a couple of metrics here. Rationality. Does it make any logical sense at all? And destructiveness. Are you destroying your life? Then you might have a problem. If your inspirational experiences make logical sense and make things better for you, then okay. Who the hell am I to say you're not having some kind of religious experience? But if you're coming to me and telling me that you're joining the Catholic Church to protect children, of which you have none, meanwhile alienating everyone you know, yeah, I don't know. That sounds like maybe you need to see someone about that, honey.
Looking at history, for centuries, women have been considered as lesser creatures amongst men. This is definitely the case with societies that formulated the basis of modern Abrahamic religions. Maybe they were visited by God, maybe they weren't. But I think we can all agree that it's more than a coincidence that men were taught that they were more important than women and given the opportunity to write, and that the one true God they wrote into existence directly mirrors their image and influence, while justifying their power over women in a way that they could not without catering to a patriarchal deity. Women would have no way to be a part of the creation of that text that literally forms the basic of Abrahamic religions.
She acts like the Bible's not true just because of the misogyny. Like, obviously, that's bullshit, right? Yes, honey. Yes. I love that that's the tell for you, though. I do. That's amazing. That's it's gotta be bullshit because there's no women in it. Yeah.
Christianity creates a sense of false fulfillment in a way that no other structure can as quickly proliferate, or that goes for Judaism in general.
Did she just characterize Christianity as a subset of Judaism?
In a way that no other structure can as quickly proliferate, or that goes for Judaism in general. It utilizes a masculine figurehead to emotionally wrap his followers into his worldview before they can even fully think about the practical applications.
I mean, technically, I suppose. But this, reads like a very educated person who doesn't actually have much experience with what they're talking about, which is fine. It's not possible to have experience when you haven't had the time. And I do appreciate you laying all this out for us so clearly. But you're seriously refuting Angelica's views here. Which Christianity doesn't need refuted. It's been done. Rather than seeing someone you claim to care about suffering a destructive loss of internal control. Confused people are confusing. If they're not making sense, really not making sense. Okay, we all know there's a difference between having a sudden personality shift and wandering off into the weeds, right? We do know that, right?
Angelica is not the first or last public figure to suddenly change their ideologies, the ones that fundamentally shape their online presence. It's just disappointing to see that Angelica has adopted the same uneducated understanding of the world, and even an uneducated understanding of Christianity, while sacrificing the trust of her viewers.
And calling her uneducated right before you give an example of this destruction, that's just the loss of the trust of her audience. Okay? That's the kind of thing I mean. That's what I'm talking about. That's not your God testing you. If following your God causes your life to fall apart, maybe that's not what's happening.
Many others doubt that this is just a social experiment, or rather don't really care anymore if it is, considering how many of Angelica's former viewers she has hurt in the process. Other theories speculate that she is going through another bout of mania. As someone who does go through that as well, I would not be surprised if that was the case.
So that's really interesting that you claim to also go through this. You claim to also experience this. Because I don't. But I have read a lot. And I've known a couple of people who have dealt with this in the past. And I know that untreated, bipolar disorder can develop into psychotic episodes. Okay? That's just facts. Maybe not everyone is aware of this. You don't necessarily know when you're psychotic, and somebody who's psychotic doesn't look like a jabbering cartoon character. They're just kind of like in a parallel universe and need help finding their way back. And everybody abandoning her because she's saying a bunch of crazy shit is not helping.
Not because she transitioned to religion, but because of how fast and aggressively she took on this new persona.
Right, and that's a red flag, okay? Up to now, it's been pretty much dry facts, and here in just a minute when she gives us her opinion, she's going to lay out for us just exactly how they're missing all of this.
Again, Angelica has admitted to going through mania several times before. Allegedly, she acknowledged that during those times she will take down videos and engage in risky behavior. It's something that is happening now, but is apparently not something she's noticed or is aware of.
Right, so she's being aware of this behavior in the past and that it is, unusual. And why. But this time she isn't. I wonder why that might be.
Additionally, we know Angelica to otherwise be a very analytical and smart individual, but now she seems to spout information without sources, and when she does post a source, it is taken grossly out of context.
Random leaps is another symptom of psychosis.
Some sources even say that Angelica herself used to be in a cult and is reverting back to it due to trauma.
I don't know if that's relevant here. I can't speak to whether or not you consider Jehovah's Witnesses to be a cult.
Although this is unconfirmed, this controversy is also commonly attributed to the death of Angelica's mother, although this too is speculative. We don't have an actual timeline. But when she died, some people say like 2 years ago, some people say recently, but we do know that there has been a death recently. And whether that plays into it, we're not for sure.
And so her mother recently died at some point over the last year or two. There's something that might trigger an episode of whatever you got going on, right?
The main theory I find plausible is one by YouTube user @MarkMoore4069 who says the following. With all due respect, Angelica, I honestly don't buy this. I don't necessarily doubt that you have some level of genuine belief in your newfound faith, as you are an artistic person and did grow up JW. But I think your newfound conservatism masked in the protect the children spiel is just a defense mechanism for shame.
A defense mechanism for shame. Just like all conservatives, as we shall see.
Although we love you for it, you were a bit manic before all this. People with manic inclinations have issues with shame.
And sometimes issues with psychosis.
And I think you doing OnlyFans triggered your self-consciousness and shame in a way that you just weren't ready for.
That may be true. Again, we're all speculating about someone else's mental health here. But if it's so clearly out of character that we're still talking about it months later, and she knew she was manic at the time, and now doesn't appear to know that. I'm sorry, this is obvious to me.
And I think when you finally realized this, you needed some sort of psychological escape.
Maybe so. Maybe you have just illustrated for us the genesis of this particular psychotic episode. Maybe you have. But they never reached that conclusion. It can't possibly be that this person's just lost the thread. It might need some help.
But converting to religion alone was just not enough. Too many people have done it. And so in order to complete the transition in a way that protected you and alleviated the shame, you needed a power play.
A power play? Look, not everything is about what it looks like to other people. Oh my God. This young woman is clearly going through something. This is why people say that liberals are obsessed with power. Really? Really? You think she's done all this for some weird sort of social cred? Well, you're telling on yourself right now because ding, 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 ding. We found ours for the week. You're telling on yourself because you are so cynical that you cannot see that the part that doesn't make sense just doesn't make sense because it offends your sensibilities so greatly. And so we've triggered the culture war script now, and we're just going to run down that tunnel rather than actually looking at the evidence.
Currently, conservatism has no claim to power in the culture wars except this. The issue of protect children is the only thing conservatives can stand on to some extent because the risk of not agreeing is too high. They have spent so much time being racist, sexist, xenophobic, and homophobic that the only response they could come up with was, oh yeah, well, you liberals are pedophiles. It's a pathetic and desperate attempt to regain power due to the embarrassment they suffer for their bigoted beliefs.
That's funny. And this is the flaw in this argument. The idea that bigots are ashamed of their beliefs. No, they really genuinely hold them. They're not ashamed of those beliefs. That's why you can't change them. This is a grand misunderstanding that's been applied to this individual. And I think it's really sad.
I have so much love for you as a creator, and even though I don't really know you as a person, but you are so much more selfish than I thought. This worldview change is just pure selfishness.
Pure selfishness? See, and this is what happens when you start with a fundamental misunderstanding of the situation.
For you to be so debilitated by your shame that you will be willing to not only do something like this, but to do so in light of believing pretty much the exact opposite for years. It's very shameful.
It doesn't make sense. And that's what I'm saying. Confused people are confusing. And this person has tried to rationalize it within the framework that they use every day, which didn't work. Shocking, I know.
You will 100% look back on this moment with sadness and regret. But the worst part is, because you don't know how to deal with your shame, you will be really fucked.
No, the worst part is that everybody who claims to care for her is going to abandon her. Because she's not making sense. You know, our understanding of mental health is just so poor. To claim to suffer from this very thing yourself and not know this? I hate to be the one to tell you this. I hope you're seeking treatment for your manic episodes. Because that's not normal or healthy. Most people don't have those.
In the end, I and many of Angelica's past supporters just want her to know that it's okay to explore other worldviews. We're not holding you to be liberal, and this isn't like us versus you. But the solution to your pain is not to pick a side and defend it, as she claimed we should in her Instagram stories. Rather, two truths can exist at the same time.
No, moral relativism has its limits, and failing to admit that is what causes young women like Angelica to question it to begin with.
You can take problem with exploitation while still agreeing that women should have their own agency, or that LGBT plus individuals deserve legal rights, or even that mental illness does exist.
Right, and then she goes on to strawman the whole thing.
This is not us versus you. It's all Angelica versus her own trauma.
No, it is you versus her, and that's why nobody can handle this. You're all acting as if she's contagious. Everybody is running away screaming. Mental illness is not contagious. That's what's going on here. We have, the paranoid delusions. We have the complete lack of rationality of the statements. Okay, we have the destruction of the social network. And one of the other symptoms of psychosis is hallucinations. She hasn't necessarily shared anything about anything like that, so I cannot say. But if you started seeing things, I don't know. That's the kind of thing that might aid in someone's sudden religious conversion, wouldn't you think?
It only hurts that we have to bear witness to her fight to cope with the sorrows of existence in the public light.
No, it's really sad that everyone is picking on this poor young woman. My approach to this subject has evolved somewhat in the last couple of weeks. Obviously, I was simply gonna respond to Angelica's video or some of it. It was really difficult to sort of find a through line for it. And I think this might be why. Who is blinded by ideology here? These people are so flustered by the stuff coming out of this young woman's mouth that the fact that it doesn't make any sense is completely escaping them. The fact that it very well fits this well-established psychiatric profile is escaping them all. I don't really know what to do with this. I don't know what to do. I wasn't sure I should talk about it. A friend of mine encouraged me to go ahead and make this point. because I think that this is really sad, and I think it's a really good example of what can happen when you just have such lack of understanding of mental illness and what it does exist. It does exist. And one of the really big red flags that you might be suffering from it is you can't help but destroy your own life. That's a problem. I think we could all agree that that would be a problem. And the fact that that is what is going on here is what really leads me to this conclusion. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Maybe hit the join button. We have memberships now. I cannot wait to figure out what to do with that. And, support the channel for $2.99 a month, and we will see where all that goes. It's getting exciting around here. Like the video if you did. Subscribe to the channel so we can all work together to bring feminism back into the real world, because, oh my gosh, do we need it. We're not going to have the live stream this week, actually. We are, right now, while you're watching this, at the Scots Irish Festival. So, that's going to be hilarious. So sorry about that. We will have the live stream returning next week at noon. Right after the brand new video, which is going to be about not this. So, everyone have a good week. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye.